Hi.
What's up?
You're the first guest we've had with the new carpet.
Yeah. I like that.
Good for a radio
Great.
show, hey, to talk about the carpet right off the bat.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Yes, let's talk about it.
That's what they say. That's what they say good content is.
My life is a carpet.
I think so too.
Yeah.
When you first started out like 20 years ago, 20 odd years ago, what career did you have in mind?
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't have any I didn't guess that I was going to make it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just was like kind of doing my thing, just trying to figure out what, grew up in a family that values academics, over everything else. And being a doctor or a lawyer was like, the version of success that I was fed.
Yeah.
And so I think I couldn't wrap my head around anything else. I remember my dad said something about, you can't make a career out of being an entertainer for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's really stuck with me. Like, it was like something that it was always like, oh, you can't do that.
Is it kind of fueled you?
No, it just kind of made me think, yeah, you can't do that. You got to be careful what you say to kids. That's, but I think
he's kind of right, is what you think. It's challenging.
I guess, yeah. I mean, no, I guess I thought maybe he's right, and I didn't really know. Honestly, I just didn't want to be told what to do, to be honest with you, by him or kind of anyone else.
I get it.
But especially him, because I didn't think he seemed that happy, So his version of life did not seem so successful to me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what was successful, I don't think I didn't really trust anyone's view of success, to be honest.
When you were writing songs for, like, I mentioned the Rihanna song and the Cher song, but like, when you look through all the songs you've written, all the placements you've had, there's an awful lot of them. Is it challenging to do that and try to get your own music out at the same time? Or even write for yourself, too?
Well, I mean, you have to know how it happened. I mean, I got my first major label deal in 2006.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to a lot of big songwriters. It was Island Def Jam. And, I was being, fed the idea that I could, would be a big pop star or whatever, I didn't know what was in store or whatever, but I was moving all around with different songwriters, writing with them for my record. Well, what I really loved was that I got all this, I got to write with these people who were successful songwriters and absorb their whatever, their essence. And so at the end of, and then, I got a deal with an indie through a major through Sony. So it was like 3 years basically banging around in the major label system. And I wrote like in the area of like 130, 140 songs, it was just like a lot. And what I learned about myself then is that I had I could be prolific. Like I could go in a room and just like cry on command and kind of do this kind of stuff. So, so I did. And then at the end of it, but they were pushing me in all different directions. I didn't have a strong management at the time, so I was a bit rudderless, and I was like, and they were like, oh, let's go in this rock direction, let's go in this pop direction, let's go in this folk direction. So it was frustrating at the time, but also just convoluted. I didn't know where I was going. I just was like following what they said because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And honestly, even when you know better, it's very difficult not to navigate the system, a major label system. Yeah. So after the 3 years, then nothing. It bore no fruit. Like there was not an actual record that came out. But I had all these songs, and one song called "Love Will Keep You Up All Night" was cut by the Backstreet Boys, and that was like a watershed moment for me, where I felt like, oh, that can happen. That's interesting.
Is it like a validation?
Yes, especially since coming up as an indie artist, one of the walls that I always hit was that like, yo, you don't have the songs to get through. You don't have the songs. You don't have the songs. So then when I became a songwriter, the irony was, not lost on me at all. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
turns out I have the songs for everybody else.
Yeah, it's like, it's like never getting a date and then being a porn star. You're like, oh, right. Just kidding. Anyway, so I think I just that I also, to me, making even a living at music was kind of like, oh my God, like, and getting deals was like, becoming my thing, and like, and living off those deals. So, at the end of the 3-year period of the major labels, I got a publishing deal with Primary Wave that's now absorbed by BMG. But they gave me another deal for songwriting, kind of based off like the music I had and the fact that I got this cut with the Backstreet Boys, and then I became a songwriter, and I I kind of stayed in California, kept like using those contacts and more to songwrite, and I just instinctively knew that I needed to write as many songs as possible and as many genres as possible in order to like make a living, especially in light of the fact that streaming was in its infancy.
Did you still want to perform? Was that still on the?
No,
No.
I was in survival mode at that point. I
Right.
was like, who's gonna get? I'd had 2 indie deals before that.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna get another deal. Doubtful. So I was like 2 indie deals, 2 major label deals, no forward movement as far as getting known as an artist. So I was like, I'll be a songwriter. Screw it. This way I don't have to worry about, I could become Jabba the Hutt. Nobody cares. It's just like the image is not important.
Yeah, you can wear sweats all day. Everything would be like kind of like being
I don't really
kind of
do
like
that.
being a radio host. I know what you mean.
Exactly.
So
you
what's-
look like crap, by the way.
I
gotta
really
tell
do.
ya.
I got to tell you, I didn't help that I wore 4 toques at the same time, and my Star Wars pajamas today didn't help. There's a hole in both
I
shoulders.
wish you had Star Wars pajamas.
I wish I owned Star Wars pajamas.
you're right.
So what's the turning point?
Would you ever get laid? I don't think so.
Probably not. Or by weird people.
Yeah.
When do you? When does it all change? Like when does it happen? Is there a turning
Oh
point?
God. Well, yes. I think when I became a songwriter, when I bought a ukulele because I was just like fun. It was like the musical version of Star Wars pajamas for me, and
Yeah.
I just like took off, and I loved it, and I learned all these songs, and
I love that, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that you write on ukulele.
yeah. I mean, you know who wrote on ukulele that I was like that I found out way after that I thought was cool was Sam Cooke,
Yeah.
which I was like, oh wow, that's really cool.
Well, you kind of. I mean, I don't want to say you have to go with gut, but I feel like you can't.
It's just an informal instrument.
Yeah.
It's like kind
Can't
of like
overthink it, maybe.
yeah, and you kind of like lull the the forest animals out of the log. They're like, oh look, like they're not scared. Like that's my thoughts. They come out of the log when I'm like playing ukulele, as opposed to like unlocking the guitar, which is like I feel like they all run back inside.
Yeah.
When you whip that out at a session, it's like because then everyone's like, oh, so we're gonna write on guitar. Ukulele, it's just like it's kind of like the I don't know. It's like a Hawaiian shirt or something like that. You're
Right.
just like kind of amused by it, but it could be a fashion statement.
So you write on ukulele. You write a song that kind of turns things around for you.
I write Into the Wild and a few other songs that are just like Forever for Now and Tokyo, and like it just opened the door in my heart back to the love of music after I'd been through kind of what people would consider the ringer. I didn't think of it as the ringer at the time. It was just my life, It was just like, hey, you have a really good voice. We want to sign you. Let's write a bunch of songs and then never get an album out.
Right.
So I just but I was just enjoying myself again. And I distinctly remember when I was a writer and I was people starting to spiral or like starting to like come around me again as an artist. It was because I was having so much fun just being a writer and playing ukulele and writing songs.
Well, let me ask you this then. A good friend of mine, Jim Cuddy, he's in this band called Blue Rodeo. I don't know if you know them, but they're like a very big Canadian band. Like a big,
I'm not familiar. I'm sorry.
So they didn't really become super successful till he was around 30, 31. And he said he was incredibly grateful because had he gotten successful when he was 17,
It would've been
yeah, he would have had a really hard time with it. Do you feel like that? Like when you're able to do the rooms you want to do now, when you're able to play the shows?
Oh yeah, the appreciation factor. It's so nice to be able to appreciate and enjoy things in real time because I wrote with a lot of artists. I wrote with so many artists that were like so young, and by the time or not even that young, for everything from like 18 to 30, and just by the time they were appreciative of it or were like, oh, wow, that was pretty cool. It was done.
It was done.
It was over.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you get so, they either think it's gonna last forever, or you don't, or you listen to all these people, like I had the like set Spike happen several times. It's like, you're amazing, you're fantastic, you're going to be huge. Well, we don't even know how big you're going to be. You could be huge indie or actually huge.
Oh, yeah, right.
And then it's just like, or you could be sitting in your living room with nothing.
Star Wars pajamas.
With Star Wars pajamas and a bar shift that starts at 5.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's not a very easy headspace to navigate. And I think when you do get it, when you're like more mature or not even, I think it's more like your experience. I think everything that matters to me in this business is one of the biggest things is my perspective. That's something I wouldn't trade for the world. Like if they said like, you can go back 10 years or you can go, you could erase your memory and just be the biggest star in the world.
What you were promised to be, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't. It's really about like the music and the bass. Like like having a foundation is like really important. And it feels really good and just like I don't know, right.
Can you take me through we're going to end on a song here. We're going to go on the title track from Dreamcatcher. Can you just take me through Dreamcatcher?
Well, Dreamcatcher is a few years old. I was going through my last breakup, and I remember it was that it came out of that moment, when you're formulating in your subconscious or like just that edge of the subconscious leading to the conscious of like that this is over, you're breaking up, and it's like a very lonely kind of faltering around in the dark kind of place, and that song, that's like I feel like it just was a poem that like fell out, and I was trying to play this guitar that was broken and out of tune in this studio. It was pretty apropos of that moment. And then I just did it with this guy, Chris Loco, in England, and we just like, he started playing the guitar like on piano. And and that song just fell out. And it's this album, there's like 3 songs that were around for a while. And that's the thing that's cool. That's why I also enjoy just writing constantly, because you just never know where a song's going to land. Like I tell people that when I had Lost on You, by the time Lost on You was like killing it overseas, I was already like 30 or 40 songs away.
Right.
I'd already written 30 or 40 more songs. And because people, I get this like thing in name the country, and they'll be like, so you must have known that Lost on You was going to be a huge.
Oh.
I was like, I actually got dropped from Warner Brothers after I played it for them.
That's how no albums work that way. No, yeah. I mean these things. That's the funny thing when people come in to promote their records. They're always they're always about 2 years removed from the pressing questions I have about the songs they just wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you, by the way.
You too.